What if money wasn't just a tool, but it was a friend, a loving guide inviting us to live in generosity, collaboration, and soul aligned abundance? Welcome to a Woman's Voice Online Summit. I am your host, Rasheryl McCreary, and this summit is all about reclaiming our voices, reclaiming our power, and our purpose in every realm of our lives, including our relationship with money. I am thrilled to have today's guest with us, Gale West, who has spent decades helping people transform not only how they make money, but how they partner with it. Welcome, Gale.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here. I want to introduce you to Gail so you know a little bit about her background before we move on. Gail West is an internationally known teacher, coach, speaker, and business intuitive. She has over 35 years of experience in transformational change. Gail is a consultant with the Akashic Records, which we're going to get into, certified hypnotist, a Reiki master. She's an internal family systems practitioner, and she holds degrees in psychology, art, and divinity. Gail, I'm thrilled to be in conversation with you. I have to say, Gail has this incredible book. You have to put it on your list and get it. It's called Money Come Dance with Me. It is a bestseller, and we're going to talk all about that book. So, Gail, I'm so glad you are here. I can't wait to jump in. What I'd love to do is start with the very first question I have asked everyone. I've just shared your bio, and you're incredibly successful, over 35, 40 years of experience. On the outside, everyone's looking at this incredible success you achieved. I would love if you could describe for us a time in your life where you had not yet found your voice or owned your power and what that looked like for you at that time.
Awful. I come from a background of pretty extreme child abuse and trauma. And I remember early on when there was no confidence, I was riddled with self-doubt, and yet nobody knew it. I was really good at letting people think that I was the most confident person in the planet. And I was doing a TV show actually. It was in the 80s. It was a cable TV show. It was all volunteer. One of the cops was going, "Oh my God, you're the most confident woman I've ever met." And I thought, if you only knew. I was really good at hiding it.
Mhm.
Nobody knew.
Yeah. And so you really had not quite owned your voice at that point. So you were good at masking it.
Oh yeah.
How did you begin to let the mask fall and allow that authentic voice to come forward?
Well, I was psychotherapist for many years. I did a lot of work myself. I went to China, which is a whole nother story. Came back and I decided that what must I believe in order to have the life I've been having? I went through all the different beliefs I felt I was holding. Every day I'd get up and I'd clear one or two of them. Sometimes I'd cry for hours doing a clearing. I have pages of beliefs I was holding. And gradually things started shifting.
Wonderful.
And
And so,
I really
oh,
targeted. I just thinking about what I believe to have this life.
yeah,
Because, in science of mind, we know that what's inside gets reflected outside.
right.
Even though people thought that I was really confident, they didn't realize that inside I had this part that was hiding.
Yes. And we manifest what is really on the inside.
Right.
And so part of your journey in transforming your consciousness from the inside out, you said it's writing down what beliefs you were holding that were false that you need to let go of and really doing energy work to clear those things.
Yeah.
So how did you get from there to, I mean, you've had this incredibly diverse career, right? So you said you're a psychotherapist and you're a best-selling author and you're an Akashic Records consultant and a business consultant. So how did you get from those beginning steps of really shifting yourself thought by thought to a woman who felt confident enough to try all these different careers and excel at them?
Well, I was doing all those different careers despite what I was believing, but I knew I was holding myself back.
Mm,
I could have been more than I was. Even though on the outside I looked really successful, I knew I could have more influence in the world. That was something I felt was part of my destiny.
mm,
I wasn't willing to hold myself back. I
yeah.
wasn't willing to be less than what I knew I could be.
Yeah.
So
That's
that was the motivator.
Yeah. And I feel that a lot with a lot of women and some of our copy, that's what we're using. Like, you're too big to play small, right? That stirring, those little inner tremors. They're saying there's something more that wants to express. That's the whole reason why we're here doing this. So talk about your journey into being an author who's written a bestseller, and talk to us about Money Come Dance With Me, because it's an incredible book and a whole new way of looking at money. Tell us about how that started to birth through you.
Well, it's interesting because when I came back from China, I had learned how to work in the Akashic Records in 1998. It was a weird word. Even though I've always been out there, I've wanted to be normal for most of my life. So I'd use it with my clients, but I didn't really put myself out. When I came back from China, I thought, you know what? I want to get certified. I want to bring this wisdom back to the people in China that I love so dearly and help them reconnect to their own wisdom that was ripped away from them in the Cultural Revolution, which didn't happen actually. Every day when I was doing the certification, we had to open the records and see what came up. If people don't know what the Akashic Records are, I like to tell my students it's an access tool to the Google of the universe.
Mm.
Because Akasha is a Sanskrit word that means boundless space. According to the Akashic Records, all of creation holds this Akasha. In that Akasha is the history of the world, the history of the universe. And that each soul has its own history. I kept getting open the records of businesses. And I mentioned that to my mentor. She said, well, you have to do that. And I said, well, do businesses have records? She says, everything has records.
Mm.
I gently, cautiously reached out to a bunch of my networks at the time. And I said, do you mind if I open the records of your business and the records of your soul to see if they're aligned? Because when we have our own business, there is an alignment that happens. And if your business is not in alignment with the message of your soul or the urgings of your soul, it doesn't work.
Okay.
So what I realized is, number one, their business had consciousness. And a lot of times they were really frustrated. They were saying, this person's holding me back. I want to grow. I want to flourish. Businesses want to grow. They want to flourish. They want to bring good to the world. And then I realized that a lot of their issues had to do with money. And I thought one day, well, I've had issues with money. They have issues with money. I wonder if money has records. One day I opened the records of money and I said, money, how do you grow? And this whole litany came out that had nothing to do with me. Money was talking about how Costa Rica is not a country of fear. It exports its beauty, and that's why it's flourishing. And America is this country that is riddled with have and have not. There's a lot of fear. So every day I started getting up and opening the records of money. One day, money came. I always start crying when I say this. Money said to me, the predominant matrix of humanity has been domination and greed, and I have been aligned with that. The new matrix of humanity is collaboration and generosity. I want to be aligned with that. Can you please help me? To which I said, excuse me, I'm just one person. I cannot change the paradigm of money. And then money said, I'll help you. And it took me a while because I thought, I'm not the money person. So it took me a while to really feel into the idea that money is the expression of divine source.
Mm.
It wants to be collaborative and generous. It actually does have a consciousness. And it kept saying, I am more than energy.
I am
I
more than.
do have a consciousness. I want to be aligned with good. I want to be aligned with generosity. I want to be a good force in the world. When we think about the fact that anything that has been created actually has a spirit, it makes sense to me that money actually does have an energy that is beyond. So if you think about it, people go, well, it's just an energy. But do we hate energy? Is energy the root of all evil? I don't think so. We have a relationship more than we ever realized. It really tells us who we are, what we believe. I look at it as one of our biggest spiritual teachers.
So you look at
Really
money
powerful
as one of
thing,
our biggest ones.
money.
So for our listeners, this is all new concepts for some people who are listening to this. I want to back up just a little bit to make sure everyone's following what you're saying. In terms of the Akashic records, right? Are you talking about something you can go to see these records? Say more about it, what the Akashic records are and how you access them. What does that look?
Well, a lot of people know who Edgar Cayce is. He was a mystic back in the early 1900s. And he saw like basically a library. That's not what I sense. How I access the records is through a prayer, and that opens a portal. And that portal that opens up, then I can access that information.
Beautiful. And so when you're accessing these records, and I love how you described that every living thing has a record, right? Every living thing, everything that has been created would be in the Akashic records. When you looked at money, what I love about what you're saying is that it sounds like you're talking to a person. And I think most people don't think of money in that way. It sounds like you're interacting with a being, a person. And that's what I find so extraordinary. Say more about your shift. I would imagine you didn't always have that belief about money.
No, not at all.
So, what was your shift when you realized there was this energy that you were communicating with that was telling you about itself and that it was money?
It was bizarre in the beginning, but I was curious. And then money kept telling me all the things that were wrong with me. Basically, I was going, hello, you've got to open your receiving channels. They're really muddy. And then one day, money started talking about the transceiver. I'd never even heard of the word transceiver. I didn't know what it was until I met my now husband. And he said, oh, I know what a transceiver is. It's a ham radio thing. That's something that sends and receives. Like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. That's amazing. I thought we had made it this new word from the universe.
Right. I love it. Oh my goodness. So here you are, and you are in this conversation with money. How did it get from that to a full blown book? And again, I'm telling everyone who's listening, you want to get this book, and we will have the link for it below. But how did it get from this initial experience to now you're having this full blown book that feels like money is a character in the book and it's a protagonist, it's the hero in the book?
As I've done workshops for years way back in the 80s, I was a facilitator for Robert Fritz's work. He wrote a book called The Path of Least Resistance. That was basically about manifesting. So I've been doing this for years and started doing little workshops where I would have people connect with money, open their receiving channels. Because I had a background in psychology, I can bring all that stuff in and help people not only have a good relationship with money, but look at it as a source of joy. So I look at it as first, you have to heal your stories, the ancestral stories. The book is based into those different parts. The next one is opening and receiving channels. I found that that's where most people are stuck. They have a set point, that point of how much money they're going to make, how much happiness they're going to allow themselves. We all have set points. So really healing your set points. And then money can be the expression of divine love in the marketplace as you bring your gifts to the marketplace. And I look at that as the incredible act of self-love, to know yourself enough to bring your gifts to the marketplace in a way that nobody else can. And then money then can receive. And when we look at it as when you're giving your love, then money becomes the expression of that love.
Beautiful. And so then, Gale, what you're describing sounds so simple, but it's not easy. And what would you say to the woman who is listening, who is chronically under earning, chronically just sort of caught in that undercharging loop, and certainly does not feel like they're in relationship with their money or that there's even anything there?
Well, I have at the end of each chapter what I call dance steps. It's money, come dance with me. The very first dance step that I have is to write a letter to money and to share clearly your relationship to money. Just let it rip. Because for most people, they've never even thought about what is my relationship to money. They don't even realize they have a relationship to money.
Right.
And so letting your feelings out, you get clarity about how do I really feel about money? I think it's evil. Do I think it's this? Because that's the first step. You got to know where you're at.
Right.
And then the next part of that exercise is, what kind of relationship would you rather have? So then you go from, oh, this is what I have. This is my current reality. This is what I really want. That's the start.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. And what I love about what you're saying is, once again, one of my favorite concepts is personal agency. It gives us agency over our own lives, where we are in the driver's seat
Yeah.
simply by our choices. There are things external that we can't control what other people are doing, but we can control how we're responding. We can shift our consciousness. And as you said, dissolve or expand your money set point. There are things we can do to increase our happiness and fulfillment with money, as well as the amount of money we're actually bringing in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked about parts in the book. The first part of the book is identifying what your story is. So I have the story of money, which I told what's money stuff. The story of the collective, like we are part of a collective that has been that where money hasn't been used in a good way. And so if you think about many spiritual people, they have this dissonant relationship to money. They're supposed to want it and they're supposed to have it because they're not, but then they're not because they're spiritual.
Mhm.
But then, I think about it, it's like, why would you want to be spiritual with something is aligned with domination and greed? I don't think so.
Right.
But if you look at it as like money's stuck in this paradigm, and I believe that money is holding our shadow. It's holding the shadow of the human race. We projected our pain, suffering, and sorrow onto money. It's not money's fault. And if you look at it from that perspective, you can really see it from a different way that, oh, we are both stuck in this reality that is where money has been used in this way. If we as spiritual people continue to hold it that way, we hold it hostage. If we can allow it to be released from the prison that it's been in and say, how do I use money in alignment with my values, my truth, who I am, I want to bring into the world? It then allows money to be out of that prison.
Right. That is so powerful. Very powerful. And so, Gail, when you are working with, because you also coach business owners and individuals, when you're working with business owners who want to start a business, or maybe they need to turn around a business, or they want to scale and grow a business, how do you use this concept of money and the work that you do in Money Come Dance With Me? How do you coach a business owner, entrepreneur, or someone who wants to start their coaching practice to get going when money is such a concern?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, be clear that your business is what you want it to be. It's key. If you look at businesses have a consciousness, if you're growing a business that you're resentful of, or you're not sure if that's really what you want, or you think that's what you're supposed to be, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So I do a workshop called that I didn't create myself, but it's branding with archetypes. Every person has its own personal archetype that is the essence of who they are. For example, I'm an alchemist artist. I'm an alchemist, but I have this energy of the artist, that's creative. And so I can see things, I can create. I have another client who's a humanitarian sage. Very different energy in her business and how she brings that in. The other one is start having a relationship with the business that you're starting to create. Talk to it. What does it want? What does it need? That's key.
What I love about the way that you see the world in your work is that you encourage us or invite us in to relationship with things that we typically don't think we're in relationship with, right? So because very few people would think to talk to my business, like what, it's just something I'm doing. But I love how what you're saying is that business has consciousness. It is a living, moving, breathing thing that we can be in communion and in relationship with. Usually I find there's a complete unawareness of that and then a lot of friction.
Yeah. So if you look at the business, especially if it's a legal entity, it's separate from you. It's a legal, it is a legal entity, but it's an extension of you. There's a way in which they intersect, but they're separate. You are not your business. Your business is not necessarily you, but it's a reflection of you.
Yeah. So how do your business clients take it? Or perhaps you work with people who are already attuned to the way that you work. I'm wondering how business people take it when you are suggesting have a conversation with your business. What does it really want from you?
Well, interestingly enough, I had a client who used to write for Forbes, and he wrote a whole article about talking to your business.
Oh, interesting. I love that.
And Forbes and the importance of listening.
Yes.
It's about listening.
Yes, it is.
Being in that flow state, when things are flowing and there's ease, that's when there's that really synchronistic flow that happens. You're expressing, money is coming.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Gail, one of the things that, because you and I know each other outside of this interview. And so in our conversations and then in knowing your work and your bio and this incredibly rich tapestry of life that you have, what would you say to other women who are listening, who, many times we are conditioned to be quiet, be small, be pleasing, don't step out of line, do the normal, natural things, be compliant. What would you say to the woman who has multiple interests, who wants to be adventurous and try new things, but feels stuck?
Barbara Shear wrote a great book called, has to do with diggers and scanners.
Okay, I'll look for it.
There are diggers in the world, people that go really, really deep. People that are scanners tend to feel, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I'm really scattered. But people have this illusion that geniuses only like one thing.
Mm.
If you look at true geniuses, they are good at lots of different things.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I had one of my mentors once say to me, you can do many things, you just can't do them all at once. She did a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So looking at it as I have all these different interests, but I can't necessarily do it all at once. What are the couple of things that I'm really feeling drawn to? It's really about listening to your heart. When letting our heart guide us.
Mm.
Most of us don't listen because the volume's been turned down.
Right.
That doesn't mean our heart isn't still chatting.
Mm-hmm.
Slowing down, listening to, noticing what is
Mm.
heavy and what is light, what is joyful and what is heavy.
That's the key, is the slowing down and the listening.
Yeah.
That divine wisdom is always there.
Always
It is
there.
always there,
Yeah.
The book you were talking about, I think, is Refuse to Choose. Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher.
Yeah.
Refuse to Choose. Use all of your interests, passions, and hobbies to create the life and career of your dreams. Bravo. You don't have to be stuck in just one thing. I remember back in the day, I'm old enough to remember my early career where my parents were very concerned because I had so many interests and I could do lots of things well. And I would job hop and they're like, no, 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 no. You have to stay on a job. I would feel like I've gotten what I needed from this and now I'm ready to move on to the next thing. Now it's more acceptable to be multi-passionate. This book certainly speaks to that, and your life certainly speaks to that. Gail, talk to us about, I know that you facilitate courses, you facilitate retreats. I know you have an incredible retreat coming up in Portugal. Share more about the work that you're doing with that.
Well, it's called Coming Home to You.
Mm.
And I realized that if I think about my own journey, it's about coming home to myself.
Mm.
And so many women, we have eaten candy of what we're supposed to be and who we're supposed to look like and how we're supposed to do our thing based on the things mother never taught us how to do. And when we come back to ourselves, we come back to home.
Yes.
That it is really being in that place of knowing you have nothing to prove. You have nowhere to go. You are enough just as you are.
Yes.
It's coming home to you, a deep dive into the essential self, divine source, hello, and living in joy. Because I really truly feel that it is our birthright. Love, joy, and delight is our birthright and the birthright of all.
Yes. There's information about Gail's retreat right below this interview. And as you can tell from our conversation, you are going to have an exquisite,
an amazing
time.
Yes, it's 7 nights in a beautiful place in Portugal, right on the sea. It's all inclusive. We tried to make it as inexpensive as possible for people to be able to come, and it's going to be a beautiful retreat.
So, as I said, everything will be right below this interview so you can find out more about Gale and get her website. So, Gale, is there anything else that you want to share with the women who are listening that we didn't touch on today? Any last gem?
So, one of the things I talk about in my book is that our relationship to money, for the most part, doesn't come from us. It comes from our ancestors, it comes from the collective. And our relationship to ourselves and being women doesn't come from us. Mm-hmm. It also comes from the collective. It comes from the trauma of our families, our mothers and our fathers and the grandmothers, and what we've been taught. One of the things I had to undo when I was in China is not be afraid to be in the dark. That's something we're taught from the time we're small, that we have to be afraid. So that colors so much of our lives as women. Supposedly, the Dalai Lama said the women of the West are going to bring peace to the earth, peace to the planet. It is our job to rise above our tribe and to really come home to ourselves, to come home to the truth of who we are, the beauty that is being a woman. That doesn't deny that men are out there too. The
Right.
beauty, just really celebrating that what we have to offer is really important.
Yes.
We don't have to be like men. We don't have to figure out the games that Mother never taught us, because playing the game is not where the power is. And knowing the rules, people that have been influencers never followed the rules. They
Mhm.
followed their heart.
Right.
So that's my invitation to all of us today. Follow your heart. You're an amazing, beautiful, unique human being. The world needs you really big.
That
That's
is so beautiful, Gail. Oh, that's such a beautiful invitation. And Gail, what would you say, if anything, to yourself years and years and years ago when you said there was the you that was performing and there was the you that was not really owning her voice? What would you offer to her from your seat? How would you coach her?
I would tell her how beautiful she is, how graceful she is, how intelligent she is, and invite her to dance.
Oh, that is beautiful. We love her.
Yeah.
We love her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tears in my
Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, Gail, thank you so much for such a beautiful and rich and healing and deep conversation, and for reminding us that these things in our lives that seem inanimate, whether it's money, whether it's our business, whatever it is, that we can really dance with it by being in relationship with it. I'm so grateful for that reminder from you, and just grateful to have done this dance in this interview with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And just invite all the listeners to know that they are unique in all the world, and dance. Dance with joy,
Mm,
dance with life, dance with your heart. It'll guide you.
thank you. This is a Woman's Voice Summit.